Hey, I'm Ray Hudson, and you are, I don't know who you are, but you're listening to Blaugrana Graham. Don't be like them kids in the Blair Witch Project and go away, alright?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Driven Shot. This is episode 10 of season 2. Kevin Orozco with me. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well. I'm good. How about you, Omar?
Happy to hear that. Yeah, I'm good. Everything's going well. And of course, as you may know, Barcelona are playing in, about an hour's time as they face Elche. And that will be an interesting game. We have a few things, actually, we're going to tap into in this episode. Sure. It's going to be somewhat of a brief one, so you can get time to prepare for the game. But hopefully this will be worth your time. Of course, do remember that you are always more than welcome to submit your questions, thoughts, and opinions below, whether that's on the starting lineup that just was released, and we'll go through that in a bit, or whether that's just in general to, with regards to Barcelona and how they're doing. So do submit those down below. And on that note, the starting lineup, of course, is out. And for Barcelona, somewhat of a rotation by him. Of course, Ter Stegen between the sticks. Mingueza, Piqué, Umtiti, and Alba in defense. Miralem Pjanic, De Jong, and Pedri in midfield. Trincao, Messi, and Braithwaite up front.
I just love how Braithwaite, he takes like the headline here. Not only from the imagery that Barcelona tweets out, but like just in general, like the replies and the reaction in general, it's just like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, no, he does. And I think one thing that I think was quite interesting as well is, of course, as you said, he takes the headline also because he's not, so to say, he's not your traditional Barcelona player, which is one of the reasons that I personally like him a lot, because he brings something different and he has that energy and that fighter mentality and instinct. But also Trincao is also a name that a lot of people are mentioning. And it seems like his boat has shifted its direction a bit.
I mean, I would hope so. I mean, he's the type of player that I think, especially when you're really young, just needs that affirmation from the fans of like, you can do this. Now, whatever you just did last game in La Liga, keep doing that. It works,
For sure. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's he's a quality player. He proved it at Braga, and of course, Liga NOS and La Liga Santander are very different, but it's. They bought him for a reason. And to people that actually watched him while he was at Braga, I watched him a little bit before the announcement was made. And then after the announcement was made, I followed him quite regularly. And he definitely showed a huge improvement after the deal was announced. He was scoring goals, setting up goals pretty much every round of the league. Got man of the match and team of the week a few times, I think, as well. So he's a player that has quality, and slowly, I think slowly he's going to make his way into the starting lineup for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's an interesting player. As far as Elche, not many names that the general public will recognize, but they do have some interesting names on the bench as well. Their starting lineup is Edgar Badia, Verdum, Fulu, Boye, Mia, Raul Guti, Barragan, Rigoni, Cifuentes, Josema, and Johan Mojica. Of course, Barragan, the former Real Betis man. So some interesting names, some experienced players in there as well, Cifuentes, and Mojica, a name that's very familiar to La Liga fans. On their bench, names like Gazaniga, the former Spurs man, Calvo, Luismi, Palacios, Carrillo. So some interesting names overall from both sides, I would say.
Yeah.
If you had to predict, say, a scoreline or just how the game would go, what do you think? What are you thinking?
As we were just reading the lineups and I was just looking at the league table, I see Elche is 18th.
They are,
They're 18th, and Barcelona is 4th.
Yeah.
Is this a must win for Barcelona, or is this a must win for Elche? Elche is in relegation zone. Barcelona, Barcelona is a few points off of first now. Atletico, after losing, that puts a lot of pressure on them now, and it actually opens up a glimmer of hope for Barcelona to take La Liga. So. To answer your question, the scoreline, it has to be a must. This has to be a must-win Barcelona match. I mean, I could see this going even a 2-0, assuming Braithwaite, is on point and Trincao plays the way he played. Messi will continue to, I think, be the distributor of the ball. I don't imagine him being on the scoreline. I think Messi is the type of player this game against Elche is where he could basically just play the midfield. He can play the wing however he wants to, and just set everybody up, because Elche is going to be forced to double team or even triple team him, which opens up the midfield for us a lot.
Very true.
I think a 2-0 win is a healthy scoreline.
I think so too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an Elche goal, to be completely honest, because they do have some quality players in that team. But I think for me, I'd say like a 3-1 maybe, because I feel like on one hand, I fully agree with you in that Barcelona, of course, this is a must win game given the circumstances, right? They have to bounce back from the Paris defeat. They're facing them again March 10th, the return fixture in Paris. And also, they right off the bounce of that game were held to a draw against Cadiz, right, at the Camp Nou. So they want to. It is, given everything, that is a disappointing result for Barcelona. And I think for them, they want to get back up, right? Yeah. And you can see that with the lineup that Ronald Koeman has put out. This is a signal of intent. This is a statement that they want to get back up, and if they need to rotate some players, then so be it, right? I think. I agree. I think Messi will be more of a distributor this game. I could see him getting on the score sheet, because I feel like this is one of those games where he could just have fun, Yeah. Obviously, depending on how Elche play. And Elche's form is not great. I mean, they've lost 3, drawn 1, and won their last game. And they're facing Granada next. So it's not like they have a huge game to prepare for, which means that in this game they might just give it their all, whereas Barcelona are facing Sevilla and then Paris. So it's an interesting next 2 weeks. It is for sure. And I think we'll see. Honestly, I think both teams will be. I think Elche will put up a fight. I definitely think so. And I don't think Barcelona will be complacent going into this either, because as we saw, games in La Liga and games in Europe as well, where the scorelines just aren't what you'd expect.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of scorelines, the other day I was actually speaking to some colleagues at work, and we were discussing just Barcelona in general, and everybody seemed very perplexed by the defensive issues or the defensive errors that we're facing right now. And and I asked them, I was like, "How did you guys not notice this?" And they were all like, "Well, we were just looking at the box score." And I'm like, that's the problem, right? Where sometimes the score line, it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. I mean, even when you look at that 4-1 game against Paris, I still don't think that 4-1 reflected what happened in that game. I feel like it was closer than the 4-1 scoreline would suggest, which is also one of the reasons why I think Barcelona still have time and still should be able to at least fight their way back into the tie. But I think, when you look at the scorelines, it doesn't, if you don't watch Barcelona regularly, you won't really notice the defensive mistakes. You'll just see them as, oh, well, I mean, I guess defenses make mistakes, and they're facing strikers that I guess are good. So, it happens. But when you look at how the games have been played and stuff, I still think that, and I agree with you from what you said last time as well, Barcelona need to reinforce the defense, because for me, right, you could argue, they need a number 9 for sure. Absolutely. But they have enough players that should be able to fill up that gap when fit. And if they decide to fully reinforce the defense, and that would mean missing out on a 9, I'd much rather have that than get a top world-class number 9 this year and then sit with the same defense for next season. Because sitting with the same defense next season, not to say it's a bad defense per se, but it is a defense that will definitely get tired. The fatigue will definitely be noticeable. And also the fact that you have players that are still young and still developing doesn't make it easier, because you have to either play them and if you play them because there is no one else to play and they don't do well, that might hurt them. And even if they do play extremely well, they'll have to step aside when the big boys, when the senior players come back in.
Yeah.
Right. So it is for me, I think it's a question of focusing on the defense for sure.
For sure.
Because the midfield, I think is quite good. I mean,
yeah, it's safe to say that the midfield is solid. The midfield is solid. It's young. It has it has a healthy balance of veterans and youngsters. Puig, De Jong, but then you have people like Busquets and Pjanic. Not that Pjanic is old, but at the same time he's 30. He's not a 21, 19-year-old.
He's not getting any younger.
Yeah, he's not getting any younger. But then, given the circumstances and given everything we know with the club and everything going on, so that we know that finance is a big issue. Yeah. So with finance being a big issue, if let's assume we're the board of directors or we're the sporting board of directors, okay, we sit into the boardroom. We're sitting with the president. Messi for some reason is there too. And he's just
chilling. Drinking his mate and just
he just wants to listen in. And then we come and say, okay, Omar, you have a blank check, but is it to build on signing a new player, a big name, or is it to sign players to add depth to the defense, add depth to the squad? What are we doing?
I think it really depends on the position, right? Okay. If you want to sign depth players for the attacking positions, I don't think that's needed.
Yeah,
agreed. And I mean, realistically, I would rather sign a big name in defense rather than build squad depth, because I definitely feel that there is more than enough squad depth. Three very good goalkeepers, despite Ter Stegen's flaws, despite Iñaki Peña's lack of experience in the top tier of Spanish football. World-class goalkeepers, right, and world-class talents. Midfield, very well stocked up. Attack, very well stocked up, especially if Messi stays.
Yeah,
I would definitely use that on the defense, and I would get players that are proven, not players that may or may not work out. I mean, of course, it's always a gamble.
Of course,
but ideally, I think they should focus on players that are like. If I had to make the decision, I would definitely go for a name or two that are proven. World-class center backs to reinforce that, because, left back position, you have Alba. Firpo, in my opinion, has not been bad. I know he's had his mistakes, but he's not really had a chance or a string of consistent games.
Yeah,
the way I see it, at least, right? So it's hard to prove yourself, and it's hard to improve if you get one game every 7 games. So I think the fullback positions are decently covered. I think the center back is where the focus should be. What do you think? What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, I would to an extent add in a center back or two. One big name, one medium name. The big name to basically replace the veteran. I'm not saying let's sign a 30-year-old, but I am saying I think it would make sense to sign a 27, 28-year-old, somebody who has that experience under their belt. I think despite Umtiti's World Cup title, titles don't necessarily always mean anything. I think it comes down to, on the defense, it's similar to what we had about 10 years ago with Puyol on the field. Yeah. He had his mistakes and everything, but he was the leader. And I think that's really what we should be looking for when it comes to building up our defense. A true proven leader, or somebody with a voice in the back that will yell at you the moment you lose focus in the game. Because, I think what we saw during the PSG game, where the players are already fighting with one another in the back when they're defending, that doesn't necessarily help. And that just proves that there's a mental instability there that I think many clubs are starting to follow suit with, where they may not necessarily be the best player, but just their presence on the field means a lot. And the first person I think of, for example, would be at Liverpool. We look at Jordan Henderson. He's not the best midfielder on the planet, but everybody knows that when he's on the field, it's a different vibe on the field. When
Yeah.
you look at, for example, what Bayern Munich has, Thomas Müller, the moment he steps on the field, everybody just knows, like, yeah, he's a jokester in training, but when he's on the field, that's like during a game, it's
100%
game
serious.
over. You
Yeah.
know, so I think that is right now what we need. Besides, we have Messi, we have a great leader in him and everything, but I think when it comes down to the defense, we can sign all the big players in the world, but if we're not signing a leader, then that's really where I would use my funds.
I fully agree. I think one thing to note as well is I know that Messi at times gets criticized for his, say, lack of, like, he's not that vocal, right? And if that's true, then fair enough, right? But the thing is with him that he leads by example rather than lead by actually talking.
Right, verbal,
right? Yeah. He leads by action rather than verbally, which is okay and good if you're playing with a midfielder or attacker. That's okay. But if you're playing with a defender, and if the entire defense is silent or not comfortable enough to actually be vocal, that's when you have a problem. And I think PK is one of the very few players in defense, at least from what I've seen, that is vocal. He is extremely vocal.
Yeah.
Which at sometimes, like we saw with the Paris game, there a clip surfaced where obviously he was arguing with the I think it was Antoine Griezmann as well, and that's the heat of the moment that happens. But you need that type of player, right?
Yeah,
you need that type of, and I fully agree. I think Barcelona do need a vocal leader. The only issue I have is identifying who that player would be. There no player off the top of my head really comes to mind.
It might come down to us looking at mid-table teams or teams that just have that one standout player, but the media just doesn't cover. And the first person I think of is the signing of Virgil van Dijk. He came from Southampton. Nobody really pays as much attention to him, but look at the type of defender he turned out to be.
Definitely, a world-class player, changed Liverpool's backline completely.
Yep.
Right. Changed the mentality of the team. Definitely helped them, and you can see that they've. It's not to say that one player completely controls a team, right? But when you lose a player as important and vocal as him, that's obviously going to cost you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The thing is, I don't see him leaving Liverpool this early.
No, of course.
I feel like later down the line he would be a fantastic signing for Barcelona for sure.
Yeah.
And that's
No, I was going to say, so then if we're not looking, let's say we're not looking out in the market then. Then what types of players are we looking at when we're looking at the academy? Because if we're just looking for the quote unquote next Messi, then we're not looking for the right type of player, because we know that Messi is unique. There's only one of him.
Yeah.
So instead, I think we should be probably building on a leader, whether it be the defense, the midfield, or even the attack. But I don't see that happening right now.
No.
I mean, yeah. I think one thing. I think I tweeted this out actually the other day. And I tagged Blaugranagram that the one player I wish we had never let go of, and if I had the power to just sign him back immediately, would be Xavi Simons.
Oh yeah.
The midfielder.
Yeah. The guy that went to Paris.
Yeah, he went to PSG, and I think he's a leader. I mean, for his age and his stature and everything, I think he reminds me a lot of like the original Xavi Hernandez in the sense that like he just knows what's going on the field and everything, and he can just do that. And you see it in his playing time now. Or you saw him also when he was playing in La Masia. It's players like that where sometimes it's just we need to retain those players one way or another.
Yeah, no, he's a quality player. I think that he, obviously his motivation for leaving, I would imagine, was that Paris had an interesting project, interesting team going on, and also maybe some lucrative financial deals for him and his agent. But I think he will prove to be a very, very good signing for PSG, especially when he grows and
comes of age,
becomes a first team player, comes of age. So for sure, I think I I'm struggling to figure out who would be that leader. You know what I mean? Because there aren't many vocal names, like players that are vocal, where you'd imagine that they would want to leave their club at this time, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think the clubs are doing a really good job at retaining players like this, despite the financial fallout that the world has already experienced.
For sure.
I think it ultimately just comes down to the manager in charge. At the club, whether that it be that the fans believe in Koeman. It's just more so like, do other players outside of Barcelona, Spain, believe in Koeman?
Yeah, I think that's and people talk about the pull power and the weight of the manager, and some people say that's a myth. It's definitely not. It is definitely not a myth. I mean, for a player, would they rather play under Pep Guardiola or a Jose Mourinho? That completely comes down to the style and the preference, right? So that definitely matters for a player. If they want to play this style of football, if they want to play this style of football, do you want to play do you want the sort of say the tough, the hard love, or do you want the compassion? Do you want it really depends. And I think for a player that's leaving their club, do they want to go to a club with a manager that has, a big proven name, or do they want to go to the manager that's just now getting the first or second big step of his career, right? So I think that definitely matters. I think just to go back to what you said about clubs keeping their players very well, a name that comes to mind, or actually two, are from the Premier League, Jack Grealish and Said Benrahma. I think it's very impressive that they've managed to keep Grealish despite all the links with other clubs. And I would imagine that he definitely could have left if he wanted to. I am very, very, very surprised that he's still there.
There's got to be something that the club is promising to a certain extent, or just simply the offers or the links that have been circulating just haven't been what the player wants or what the agent wants.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe sometimes it does make sense to just hold on for another year or two, and basically just keep working towards increasing the value of the player, which is to an extent already it can be a controversial topic because maybe the player actually does want to leave. But Jack can't. Grealish can't say that. I think ultimately it just comes down to like what these clubs are communicating to the players and the manager and what they communicate to the players. Which brings me actually to a conversation that we were just having a few minutes ago and earlier today was what happened with Quincy Promes leaving Ajax.
I'm still
processing.
I am absolutely baffled, to say the least. I'm actually I read that it was going to happen, and I don't think. Oh no, is it official? I think it might be official.
No, it's official. I saw it this morning with the Ajax Instagram, and I immediately wrote to some of the people I know at the club, and so far no comment. But I think the no comment to me just means I don't think anybody was really expecting this to happen the way it did.
Yeah. No, it's it's official, it seems. Yeah. It's crazy. Straight up. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, obviously the Russian league does have some quality players in there. Like it's not a terrible league, but you think of a player like Quincy Promes, went to Sevilla, right? Now been at Ajax.
Yep.
I definitely feel like he could have made a move to a European mid or top club and actually done well.
Absolutely.
I definitely think he has the talent to do that, and he has the technical ability. I just don't understand why he would ditch Europe.
Basically.
Career. That's what puzzles me.
Yeah, that's what's very confusing too. It almost seems as though there must have been some type. I mean, I'm not going to speculate or anything, so let me actually come back before I say something wild. But I think he would have been somewhere. I think he would have actually fit very well with Barcelona.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, for the past couple of years, I've said that I think he would be a good sign. Like, I would be
Yeah,
happy if Barcelona signed him.
absolutely.
I think he has a talent, and I think, if they went for a name like Ousmane Dembele, who wasn't really known outside La Liga, why not go
Yeah.
for Quincy Promes? He's played with the national team, done well with Sevilla, and at Ajax done well as well. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I really
I don't
don't. I mean,
understand
and
it.
he's only 29 years old. Like, if he was like 32, 33, all right, maybe
Yeah.
okay, maybe like a big money move to the MLS or to China or leagues that are known to have a lot of money and offer very lucrative contracts.
Right.
Fair enough. But I don't know. Is he pulling a Yannick Carrasco? Is he gonna come back in a year or two and just light up the league again?
I mean, that I would love to see that, but if he does that, I'd love to see him at Barcelona. Honestly,
I agree.
mean,
I agree.
because again, Messi's not getting any younger. Griezmann isn't getting any younger, and if we keep playing those players on the wing like that, Quincy Promes could come in, and
Sure.
let's assume Koeman is still manager. They know each other.
Got that Dutch pull power right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was expecting it was a similar situation where with the Depay situation, right, where I thought Koeman would bring in more Dutch players, whether it be players who are just simply from the Netherlands or players who have
played well under him.
Play well under him, or players even from Ajax, considering the relationship we have with the club. So, I really this really came as a surprise, to say the least.
I mean, I read it and my jaw dropped because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I mean, it's just such a strange move,
Yeah, it's just Moscow.
Such a strange move, and not
why
and Spartak Moscow. Not like, of course they are a big club in Moscow, but not like Zenit, who have this they have a presence, and like, if you want to go to Russia, at least aim for the absolute top, right?
Yeah.
And credit to him. Maybe he just wants to get his foot off the gas for a bit and just have fun. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the pressure at Ajax has been mounting. So,
for sure.
I think it's also safe to say that Promes is probably just looking for maybe he's just not getting enough playing time, whatever the case is, because we also have to remember that the Euros are this summer.
Yeah.
So maybe he just wants to. I mean, to be fair, the Netherlands, in my opinion, are the top team to win it. I had it happened last year, I had predicted that they would win it. So I'm sure all of these moves are calculated, as opposed to just going off straight up emotion and things like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the thing is as well, like, just looking at some of his stats, he hasn't done too badly. 19 games, 6 goals, played around half of Ajax games since he joined, or since the start of the season. Not too bad, right? But I mean, maybe he just needed a change, and Spartak Moscow said, "Hey, we got you."
Yeah,
could be. Maybe they offered him I mean, I would imagine that they offered him a good deal. You'd imagine.
I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. I do hope that he just pulls a Yannick Carrasco. I will be honest though, when Carrasco came back to Atleti, I did not think he would do as well as he's been doing now. I genuinely didn't think he'd do that well, because he was a quality player before he left. But I thought that leaving to a league that is not as high a level. And playing there for a while, you kind of get accustomed to that sort of level. Then coming back, it would be a bit overwhelming. 100%. But he's just hit the ground running. He's been amazing.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think it always comes down to the managerial style and everything,
for sure.
And like the system that's currently in place. Maybe at the time he left, the system just wasn't there for him. But then he came back, system was in place. So maybe that's the situation now with Promes, where Ajax only used him for 50% of the season thus far, but he knows that he's the type of player that needs to be at 100%. So it's kind of like, I'll come back, but just let me know when you guys want to use me every single game for every single minute, because he has the strength for it, he has the stamina for it, he has the talent for it. So
definitely, and it's not like he's not old, you know.
Yeah, he's not
29. That's not old. You're getting there, but still got a lot of years ahead of you.
Yeah.
You know, so he's definitely a player that I would love to see in Europe, and I think eventually he will make it back. But I hope that when he does make it back, it won't be to. I really want him to see him at a top club. I really do. I think 100%. He would. I think he'd be great at a top club.
100%.
So that would be extremely interesting. I think that's more or less all we have time for, because I know that our lovely audience here would like to prepare for the Barcelona Elche game. It goes on in half an hour's time. Of course, sadly, we won't be covering it on Blog on Gram TV nor on the website live. Of course, this was the preview. We've got the post-game interviews that will be up and live on the website. And if you're listening on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, they will be on there by the time you hear this. On that note, I guess all that's left to say is thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this. And this does go live every Wednesday on all of our socials and on Blog on Gram TV, our YouTube channel, at 6 p.m. Central European Time, noon Eastern Time, every Wednesday. So do tune in. And I think that is pretty much it. Just to take one last comment. The Modri says, Visca Barça, good conversation, guys. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you're staying safe, sane, and well. And we will see you next Wednesday. If you have any last words, Kev?
No. I was actually going to say, should we tell them about what might be happening 2 weeks from now, or let's keep that? Can we keep it a secret?
We've got a big surprise coming.
All right, cool.
So stay tuned for that one, guys. On that note, Phil Shane, roll the outro.
My name is Phil Shane, and you've been listening to The Driven Shot, hosted by Omar Hawwash and the Blaugranagram news outlet. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.